All right, welcome to another training edition of Profit Pro Plus. Today we are going to focus on the inventory functionality of the program, and we'll look at all of the different elements within the inventory page, what you can do, how to manage, maneuver, and manipulate the functionality of this part of the program. So we're going to click on our red icon, the clipboard, which is the indicator for our inventory page, and get started. Okay, we are now in our inventory page and we will take a look around. First, let's start by identifying the inventory elements themselves. You can see down here on the bottom track, we have the total number of inventory pages. And you can continue to change how many elements you see per page based on whatever platform you're using, whether that's a mobile device like a tablet or even a large phone, or whether you're using a desktop computer or a laptop computer. It'll work across all functional mediums, so feel free to take a look at that on any device. Now, after going through the pages, you may want to look for specific items. So let's talk about the search function. Let's say I only want to look for an item by a particular source. In this example, I'm going to type in Shamrock, or at least begin to type in Shamrock, and tell the system that I want to sort that based on my source that contains that part of the name. Now you can see all of my Shamrock items are now in order. And of course, I could do the same thing for any source that I have within the program, and it will continue to sort information for me that way. To reset, all you have to simply do is click no filter and it'll go back to its original format. Maybe you want to drill a little deeper and look for an item based on a description. So in this example, under description, same functionality exists. I type in spice, hit contain, and I have no records. So let's see if I have something under sauce. Okay, I've got a couple items under sauce, and I can see they all come from one source. So this is your way to dive in and look at product, find product, and navigate your way around if you have any curiosity or anything that you need to look for. Next, let's talk about how to manage your individual items. I'm going to clear my filter and go back to my master list. And within my master list, if you were watching some of the earlier videos, you'll remember where we talked about identifying your recipe units and your recipe unit portions. The program pulls data from a database of over 90,000 unique pack sizes, depending on what vendor you use and how that vendor decides to describe their pack size. Because this is so ambiguous and there's no universal rule, we've created this database. However, there are holes in the database, and we do get a report every single week that shows us any new item that was entered in that doesn't have a recipe unit or a recipe unit portion, so that we can add those and continue to grow the database. To make that make sense, if you look at this Cisco item, it's a dissolvable label. It does not have a recipe unit or a recipe unit portion size. So we can always go in and fix that. Simply click the edit button next to the item. It'll pull up a box and we can rationalize that. In here under pack size, we can take a look at what's in our list, and our list will pull up a huge category of those items. Another way to get there faster is just to simply retype the item that we're looking for. And I can see I found one that's really similar. It's a 1/500 each. That's going to work for me. And you'll see when I click that item, it's going to tell me that there are recipe units of an each, 500 of those recipe units per case, 100% yield, and that they cost us 1 penny per label. I'm going to save that. And now when we look back at our label, we will see that that is no longer missing. So we can continue to scroll through our program to see if we find any more of these. And this is an important maintenance function when you first import all of your data. Now, we hope to close that gap so that it eventually doesn't exist, but as a new vendor or new product enters the scene, oftentimes we will find new anomalies. Okay, now we have a mole sauce. a 12 8¼ ounce pack. Let's see if we can find a solution for that. So again, I'm going to clear this line. I'm going to put in 12 8.250 for ounce. I'm going to accept that one, and let's see what it shows us. Great. It tells us that there's 99 ounces, which we know to be correct, that it's 100% yield, and 26 cents an ounce. So perfect. We got that one squared away. And now you can start to see how to manage the program when you're going through your inventory list to make sure that all of your product is accounted for and adjusted properly. Now let's look at some lesser used functionality. If we scroll over to the right, you can see where we have a delete option. Now, we do kind of have that intentionally buried just a little bit so that the items are not accidentally deleted or confused with the editing function. But anytime we need to, we can delete items that are obsolete or that we no longer use. Additionally, there's some other elements over here that we'll talk about. So unit cost is exactly what you saw. The unit cost is what comes out of the portioning. The raw unit cost is what the program is going to tell you. The unit cost is going to be based on your yield environment. For example, if you were to take an onion and it was a 50-pound case, the 800 ounces in that case would be divided by the case price to give you your raw unit cost. But if we had a yield of only 80% on those onions, the unit cost would be higher because we'd be dividing a lower number, 80% of 800, into the total cost of the case to get a higher unit cost. That's going to reflect in our recipes, and that's important. You'll also see that you have an opportunity to enter in your GL codes for your general ledger coding, as well as brand coding. Now, all of the functionality in this program does have export features so that when you take inventory, you can export this to Excel, and you could send those inventory count sheets with full detail, including GL codes, and you can sort them by GL codes and send that to your accounting team if they need that type of information. Additionally, we have the brand codes. Some vendors will and some vendors do not include the manufacturer brand ID. We strongly recommend asking your vendors to include that if they omitted it, because the brand code is what makes the product unique across all distribution channels. The item code is set by the distributor themselves. So the item code doesn't do us much good if we were looking to find or source that product for maybe another location in a different market where you might use a different vendor or you may not have access to a previous vendor. So that pretty much covers the basic functionality with inventory, but now we've got a couple of options up at the top that we should talk about. In a subsequent training, we talked about the individual loader function, and that is if you have to add an individual item to your inventory list for whatever reason, you simply click on the New button. This will give you the opportunity to manually enter in all the information you need on any one-off items so that you can import them into or upload them into your inventory list. Next, we have our loaders. This is just another location where you can automatically load your inventory or automatically load invoices if you had inventory or invoices that didn't come on the auto loader and it was a big block of data. You can go watch the manual loaders training to figure out how to set your loader definitions. But once those loader definitions are set, you can simply click on the button. It will ask you to select from a file, which you can do, and then you can import it to take a look at it and process it to integrate it into your inventory. The program works the same way for invoices, and that's a loader definition that you set. So again, if you haven't watched that video, please go check out the manual loaders video in the training section at ProfitProPlus.com. The last piece we have is inventory. And in taking inventory, this just gives us an opportunity to build our list based on our locations and the day that we're going to build it, and build all of our inventory into the system when we take our counts so that our reporting will weigh against our usage and our purchases. We're going to have an incredibly in-depth training coming up next to cover this specific area alone. There's a lot of functionality in here, and it's very, very important that we take inventory cycle counts in order to get the cleanest and best data so that we can identify our inventory purchase variance. What we bought on invoice versus what we sold equals how much we should have left. Once we take inventory, it shows us how much we should have had and how much we do have so that we can identify the variance all the way down to the line item level. And this could be due to a number of reasons that go back to managing your inventory. Maybe we didn't account for the proper yield on a product. Maybe our team in the back could use some coaching and training on some portion control methods on particular items. Maybe the item's yield has changed. For example, romaine lettuce might be getting you a 90% yield during the peak of the produce growing season, and then in the off season, you might be getting something lower like an 80 to 70% yield out of the product based on what's servable. So there are adjustments that will sometimes need to be made, and our variance identification reporting will tell you exactly what items you should be looking at, and that all comes from the functional use and proper management of this page. So let's go back to our main inventory page. And that's going to pretty much wrap up this segment of the training on your inventory page in Profit Pro Plus. Stay tuned for the next training, and we'll see you then.